Hello and welcome to the Intel Brief. Today is Thursday, 15 January. I'm your host Daniel, and today we're going to talk about the US and UK have pulled some personnel from their Qatari military bases. Trump has hailed the call with Venezuela's terrific interim leader, and Russia says talks of a ceasefire rather than a full peace deal in Ukraine is simply not serious. So firstly, the US and UK are reducing the number of personnel they have at Al Udeid Air Base in Qatar as US President Donald Trump considers whether to take action against Iran over its crackdown on anti-government protesters. Officials have told CBS News and the BBC's partner that a partial American withdrawal was a precautionary measure. The BBC understands that some UK military personnel were also being removed. A Qatari government statement said that the measures reportedly being taken by the US were in response to current regional tensions. The Foreign Office has also temporarily closed the British Embassy in Tehran, which will now operate remotely, as government spokesperson said. So what? There's a lot of analysts drawing similarities between this and what happened before the US's strike on the Iranian nuclear capabilities. So yeah, I think most analysts are pointed towards a high possibility of a US strikes in Iran. I still think that it's a moderate at this stage. There'll probably be considerably more withdrawals just before any possible strikes. I also saw some unconfirmed reporting this morning that there's an aircraft carrier moving into the Middle East. If that is true, then it's likely that any strikes will wait until they are within striking range of Iran. What these strikes will target, to me, the end goal is to disrupt the security apparatus so that the people can overthrow the government, right? So the targets here would likely include the security forces, their command and control, their senior leadership to kind of destroy that decision-making apparatus, and then also large troop concentrations, so probably troop bases near Tehran, and also any logistical support, so possibly storage areas and fuel depots that support any military action. Basically anything to try and cripple the Iranian Revolutionary Guard and other security forces that support them. Whether this will actually work and overthrow it, destabilizing to the point where people can overthrow the government, is another question. The Iranian security apparatus is very entrenched in the country, so it's not going to be a simple revolution. And next, US President Donald Trump held a very good call with Venezuela's interim president, Delcy Rodriguez, on Wednesday, the first known contact between them since the ousting of Nicolas Maduro. Both leaders spoke highly of the phone call, which came as Rodriguez declared on the same day her country was entering into a new era in her first press conference since taking control of Venezuela. Rodriguez was Maduro's vice president since 2018 and was sharply critical of his capture by US forces on January the 3rd, when he was taken amid US strikes on the country and then brought to the US to face trial. However, she has since expressed a willingness to work alongside the Trump administration. So what? I mean, it's unsurprising that she's flipped her position on Trump, If she was more critical of Trump, then it's likely that Trump would have her removed as well, one way or another. How these talks went, I mean, nobody knows at this stage, but it's likely that Rodriguez was very pandering to Trump and, basically saying they'll give him everything he wants, access to oil, some kind of say in the country's political future, etc., to essentially avoid any more wrath from Trump. Whether this will actually happen is yet to be determined. It's gonna take some doing. From everything I've read, the Venezuelan oil industry is pretty old and dilapidated. So it's going to take some repairing before they can start getting oil out of it at any good level, really. And lastly, Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov said on Wednesday that Russia was open for peace talks in Ukraine, but the talk of a ceasefire ahead of a full peace deal was simply not serious. Asked by Bloomberg about a Bloomberg report, the White House envoy Steve Witkoff and US President Donald Trump's son-in-law Jared Kushner are seeking to travel to Moscow to meet with Russian President Vladimir Putin. Lavrov said that Putin had already said he is open to serious discussions about peace in Ukraine. So what? I mean, shouldn't be a surprise to anyone. It's seemed from the start that Russia's goal within these peace negotiations is to not actually participate and to try and drag them out for as long as possible. The goal of which is to appease Trump to avoid further the US providing further support to Ukraine and also sanctioning people that are buying Russian oil, which is essentially the only thing that is keeping this war going from Russia's side at this stage. Some key people there would be India, most likely, and possibly China, though the US would likely not want to take further action against China as trade tensions are already very high. But yeah, it doesn't seem like there's going to be any movement forward. There's still massive sticking points in the peace agreement, particularly around security guarantees. How these are implemented and who provides the security is a massive hurdle that no one's really come up with a good solution for yet. So, yeah, I think Ukraine would be willing to give up territory if it meant that the US or like Europe or US forces can come into Ukraine to provide security. But Russia almost certainly doesn't want to agree to this. So, yeah. Anyway, that's been the Intel Brief. I've been your host, Daniel, and I'll see you again tomorrow. See you.